Welcome to Saga Sessions, a show where we explore, analyze, and discuss our favorite stories. The last time John and I teamed up, we reviewed Captain America: Brave New World, and at the end of that video, we mentioned that we would be gathering together again to discuss Daredevil: Born Again. So here we are.
We're back.
We
Daredevil's
are back.
We're back. We're all back.
So real quick, off the bat, we're going to do a short spoiler-free section, and then we will discuss spoilers. Also important to note, we are discussing basically the first half of season one.
First 4 episodes.
The first 4 episodes, because at
Which
the
is
time,
all that's out as of right now.
as of the time that we are recording this, 4 episodes are out. By the time this gets posted, it might be 5 or 6 episodes. Okay, so real quick, as we said, spoiler-free section. John, what are your early thoughts on the show?
So if you haven't watched it yet, because you're either waiting for it all to come out and you can binge, or if you're just like on the fence, I'm going into this having seen all of the original series. I actually just recently rewatched the 3rd season, which is the last season of the original Daredevil series. So it's pretty fresh going into this. And overall, as a fan of the original series, I am pretty satisfied. I'm a fan. I'm very biased because I love Matt Murdock. I love the character. I love Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. So I was going to be fairly easy to please generally going in. So I think if you're a fan of the original series and you're a big fan of specifically Matt Murdock, I think you're going to enjoy it just across the board. I think there's some things that if you are a fan going into this, you might not like if you are a fan of the original series. But we'll get into that in the spoiler section, obviously. But I think if you are a fan of the original series, I would say give it a shot. If you're not, I honestly don't know what it would be like going into this if you're not a fan of the original, because they don't really do any recap or explaining of the characters, really. So it's a good show. I still like it, but I feel like you might be a little lost. I don't know.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because the night that Born Again premiered, I invited a friend over to watch with me. They didn't come, or they weren't able to come, but I told them, hey man, you don't have to have seen the original Daredevil to understand this. This is a continuation, but also a reboot of sorts. He had not seen the original show, so I was trying to convince him to come watch with me. But when I was watching the premiere, I was like, "Oh, I guess everything I said was not,
wrong."
Yeah, was not true. So,
because they just kind of drop you back in, which is great for someone who's coming from the original. You're like, "Oh, we're back. This is great." But if you haven't come back from the original series, I feel like you won't know what's going on. Really,
that's a very fair assessment.
Yeah. So I haven't personally, I have not met anyone who's watching this show who hasn't watched the original. So if you're a new fan, welcome. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments, I guess, because I've never met you. I've never met anyone like you, so let us know how you're doing.
In many ways, this show is for the fans.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Which is great. But yeah, I guess if you're a newcomer, I guess you're just kind of going to have to look up the backstories, because they don't even explain Daredevil's powers. You're just going to have to pick up, oh, he's blind, but he's not.
Yeah.
And he does kung fu. There you go.
Exactly.
But for the fans who are coming from the original series, which is probably most people, I would say give it a shot. It's good. Some things you might not like. Some things you probably will like. Decide for yourself.
I second everything John said. So, okay. Should we dive into the spoilers?
Let's do it. I feel like we should just tackle the biggest spoiler out the gate. So
which is kind of what the show does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So biggest spoiler out the gate. This is your last warning. Foggy's dead, and Karen's gone. So when I said there are things in the show that, as a fan coming back, might make you very unhappy, that is the biggest one. And some people cannot get over that. His sister, my partner, Kiernan, she is having a hard time getting over the fact that they killed off Foggy and got rid of Karen, because those are some of her favorite characters. And there's a lot of people on the internet who are very much in the same boat. They're like, I cannot watch the show after what they did, and they just haven't been able to connect with the show because of that. And honestly, valid. I can't really argue with that.
But in some ways, I think Disney did this on purpose, because they really want to make this feel different, like a
Yes.
different show
Yes.
than the first 3 seasons of the
Yeah.
original Daredevil. And the best way to do that is to get rid of the old characters
Mhm.
and give us a whole bunch of new characters.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, maybe, in my opinion, there are maybe too many new characters.
Yeah.
There's quite a
Fair.
few,
There's quite a few.
but I see what Disney's doing, and I would argue that it's working.
Yeah, I think it's working pretty well so far.
Okay.
It's not crashing and burning, I'll say that, which is a positive.
I want to bring up a talking point that we had at the end of our Captain America Brave New World video,
Mm-hmm.
where we talked about how, at this point, the MCU is almost in shambles.
It's pretty much in shambles, I would say.
And we were talking about how we have hopes for the beginning of Phase 6, which
Mhm.
will begin with Fantastic Four First Steps.
Mm-hmm.
But Daredevil Born Again, which is at the very tail end of Phase 5,
Mm-hmm.
so far is great. And
Mhm.
I wanted to ask the question, can a Marvel TV show save the MCU? Or is it not significant enough in the grand scheme of things?
I don't think it's significant enough, and and specifically, I don't think Daredevil is the right show to do it, because the original Netflix show was very separated from the MCU, and it seems like they're taking a similar approach here, where like it's not super integrated and has like bigger implications for the other movies. It seems to still be trying to remain relatively contained to its own little show. And honestly, the few times that they've brought it up, I think are kind of weird. Like I think it was in the most recent episode where Matt was talking to one of his clients it was the last episode, talking to his client who had just robbed a store, and he just goes, "Could it have been a scroll?" And I was like,
Yeah, reference to Secret Invasion.
Why are we bringing that up?
Yeah.
And then like Wilson Fisk, like I guess he had a whole subplot in the Echo TV show. I'll admit it, I didn't watch that show, which I think is kind of referenced here, but I don't think you need to have seen it to really get it. I don't know. I haven't seen it. So yeah, I think they're doing a good job separating it a little bit so far, and I think I like it more separated. So I don't think this is the show to like save the MCU or anything like that. But I think it could start its own thing, maybe, but I don't think it's gonna be big for like the overall plot of like the movies or anything.
Maybe it could start a trend of good MCU
Yeah, it could
TV
start a trend
shows.
of good, more self-contained TV shows similar to the original Netflix run. But like I don't see like in the next, I don't know, like Thunderbolts is gonna be like, oh, that Matt Murdock guy. Remember what happened in that just happened? Wilson Fisk being the mayor or something like that. I don't think they're anyone's gonna bring up the events of this show anywhere else. At least not in like a big way.
This is a little off topic, but before we dive into some deeper thoughts, I do want to say that I loved Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox's reintroduction to the MCU back in Spider-Man No Way Home. Such a good scene.
Big fan.
Yes.
Great lawyer.
So I'm glad they brought him back.
He's a really good lawyer.
I'm glad they decided to reintegrate him into the MCU and do more with his character, even if it means killing off Foggy and separating him from Karen.
Yeah. My biggest thing with that, just to kind of go back on that train a little bit, is I agree with you. I think it was I see the decision making and like why they did it. And like I think it makes sense. I see where they're going with the character. Daredevil has often grappled with the idea of like, is it right to kill people? Is it not right to kill people? Like season 3 was really big on that.
Right.
And like this first episode like starts off strong with Daredevil essentially kind of killing someone. Like he didn't end up dying, but he just like throws Bullseye off a building pretty nonchalantly. And I don't think he was like, I'm just going to throw you off the building, but I know this isn't going to kill you. I think he like fully was like, I'm killing you.
You
like,
killed my best friend.
Yeah, you killed my best friend. Goodbye.
I'm throwing you off the building.
Yeah, like I don't think he expected him to live from that moment. And in that moment, I don't think he really cared.
Right.
So I think that is a really cool element to progress his character. My biggest question is what we get through the sacrifice of Foggy and Karen, like the plot device, like the plot that we're able to get from it and the character development that we get out of it, is that going to be worth what we lose by not having them in the story? Because Foggy and Karen are like amazing characters. Like so many people are here for Matt, yes, but they're also there for them because like the chemistry is great. Like the little bit of time we get with Foggy, Karen, and Matt in the beginning of the show,
it's so good.
It's so good. Like it was great to be back. All the homies are back. It was great to see everyone, and then it's like instantly torn away from us. So I think that's one of those questions that can only really be answered at the end of the show or like at the end of the season, where you can really judge whether or not getting rid of Foggy and Karen was like worth it in the end, if that makes sense.
Agreed. I do want to bring up a theory that's out there.
The theory.
That we can maybe discuss, which is Foggy actually dead?
Yes.
Because in the comics...
Yeah, spoilers for the comics, I guess, if you care about that.
Sure, yeah. They fake Foggy's death.
They do fake Foggy's death.
At some point. So, and Disney keeps saying, Foggy
season 2.
Foggy's coming back in season 2 of Born Again. So
I don't know, man. I think a lot of the internet, myself included, are kind of coping via having that in our back pocket. Like,
yeah,
he's not dead. The comics. I don't know how true that's gonna be, but I have hope.
I do have to say that I really, really hope they do not bring him back.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, and now we're going to go off on a little bit of a side tangent because John knows me really well, so he will understand when I bring this
I think
up.
I know where you're going with this.
So, for example, the movies How to Train Your Dragon.
Yep, there it is.
I always say
I knew it was going there.
That they are held back by being children's films.
Yes.
I love when stories take risks and do the unexpected and take away characters that matter to us.
Yes.
Like, I brought up How to Train Your Dragon because I feel very strongly that in the third one, either Hiccup or Toothless should have died.
Someone should have died. Colin wants blood.
So, that aside, killing off Foggy within the first 15-20 minutes of episode 1 was a very bold move, and I applaud it.
However, if they bring him back, it does kind of take away from that.
Exactly, which is why I'm saying I hope they don't bring him back.
That's fair.
You made the bold decision. You committed to it. Stick with it.
That's fair. I just love my boy Foggy, so I want him to come back.
I love him too.
However, either way, I think, and this is my judgment as of right now in the show, I think they need to bring back Karen.
Have you seen the leak?
The set photos? Yeah.
Where she has red hair?
So it seems like she might come back either this season or season 2.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because going off of my idea of like, you know, what we sacrifice by getting rid of them, is it going to be worth it? There's kind of a hole in the show because they're gone, and they've tried to fill it with like these other characters, like Officer Cherry. I'm reading off a list of people because I'm really bad at remembering their names because they're not very memorable, which I'm going to get into. The new love interest, whose name is Heather, Kristen, like the new partner. So we're getting these new characters who are like, in essence, kind of replacing them, but like not really, but like they're there to be the side supporting characters that Karen and Foggy were, but they're just not doing as good of a job because I do not really care about them at all. So like throughout every episode, I think there's still been that hole of like Foggy and Karen, just like that dynamic. So we need something to replace it, and it either is going to be Karen coming back or one of these characters like becoming really cool and like just beloved. But like I have not gotten attached to any of the new characters like I did to like Karen or Foggy. None of them are like bad necessarily. I just don't think they're like that great.
I gotta say, and we will talk about the new characters at length in just a moment, but I was a big fan of Hector Ayala, White Tiger.
Yes. I think Hector Ayala was great.
They made a bold move.
However, he too did not last very long.
He did not last long at all. So they're making bold decisions left and right.
They're making bold moves. Like this is a very Matt-focused season, it seems like.
It is.
Which isn't bad. It's just like not everyone's going to love it as much for that.
True. If you are a fan of the big three, Karen, Foggy, and Matt,
yeah, and Wilson, obviously he's still around, Kingpin. So like,
right.
But in terms of like the Daredevil crew, it's really just Matt. Cause like, so what do you think of the new characters? So it's like we have Kirsten, who's kind of the new Foggy. It's like his new Matt Murdock's new partner.
Kirsten McDuffie.
I mean, like she's fine, I guess.
She's all right. The show, in my opinion, did not do a very good job of establishing her character before she became Matt's law partner.
Yeah.
So by the time that we do a time jump after Foggy's death, and we see Matt now running a law firm with Kirsten.
Mm-hmm.
Kirsten has no... I'm not interested in Kirsten at
Me
all,
either.
really.
I don't really care.
It's like, oh, okay, she's
If
his
she's
new
on
partner.
screen, oh, cool.
That's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm just more focused on Matt and what he's doing, and she just seems like a little side character that's there just to give him a partner.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And just like do some plot stuff here and there, like for the lawyer stuff, and set him up with his new love interest, who I also don't really care about.
I like her, actually.
She's fine as a character. Heather is her name. She's like
Heather Glenn.
She's the love interest for Matt and also the therapist for Wilson Fisk and Vanessa, because they're going through some stuff. They're going through couples therapy.
Yes.
Because there's some cheating going on and all that stuff. I don't mind her as a character. I don't think they have any chemistry. Like, I think they met and they immediately started dating, and and they're immediately like an item. And I'm
their
like,
first date was so awkward.
I do not believe that you guys are already dating. Like, it seems like the show's really trying to like shove the relationship down our throat and just like making us accept it. When I'm like, there's not much chemistry there. You didn't really give us time for like this relationship to develop at all. And honestly, Matt Murdock had more chemistry with that one random Latvian girl in the most recent episode than he does with Heather. So I think she's fine as a character, and I think I understand where they're going. They're like, oh, we're gonna intertwine the fact that like he's dating her, but she's also the therapist for Wilson Fisk. So like, there's gonna be some interesting plot developments there. So maybe when those plot threads start coming together, when like it's getting a little muddy because of that, maybe I'll be a little bit into her character and the relationship more. But as of right now, she's kind of fine. She's fine.
I just enjoy watching Matt be happy.
That's fair.
To a degree, because in the original show, which John already rewatched, I am currently rewatching as I watch Born Again. Every time he dates somebody or sees somebody in that show, his life as Daredevil gets in the way.
Yes.
We have Elektra, his old girlfriend, who he rekindled romance with at some point in season 2. I don't like Elektra, so I didn't really care about that storyline very much. But he also dated Karen for a time in season 2, and being Daredevil got in the way of that. So he just did not have much luck with these relationships.
Nope.
And seeing him in a somewhat healthy relationship for a change, where he seems to be happy because Daredevil currently is kind of off to the side in his life right now since Foggy's death. It's refreshing for me to, see this for his character. And I don't have an issue with the character of Heather herself. I think she's actually kind of dynamic in some way.
Oh, okay.
I like how they tie her into the Wilson Fisk and Vanessa storyline as well. And I wonder if she's going to have a larger part to play down the line.
I think she absolutely is going to. Like, there's definitely a reason they have her dating Matt and also the therapist for Wilson and Vanessa. Like, there's no way they don't make that a bigger thing. And if they don't, in the end, if I'm eating my words the next time we're here, honestly, that's on them. They should have made it a bigger thing, because that makes the most sense. But yeah, I agree. I think she's a good character. I think my biggest beef is just like, I don't like their relationship. I think
that's
it's
totally fair.
Pretty meh. But like Hector Ayala, I really liked his character. I think he's a good, strong character, but obviously he is also no longer with us, and also the actor is no longer with us, and he did a really great job.
True.
So that was really sad.
Did they kill off his character because the actor passed away?
I do not know. I don't know. So maybe, but I will say in the comics, the White Tiger that's most famous in the comics is the one I think they're setting up, which is his niece, I believe, the one who shows up in the show. In the most recent episode.
Okay.
She, in the comics, I believe, becomes the White Tiger, and she's like the more famous one.
Very cool.
So, based off of that, I would say that was probably their original intention, but I do not know that for a fact. But yeah, I think he was really great.
Can we talk about, real quick, officer or detective? I don't know which one
Cherry?
he is. Cherry.
Who are you?
Yeah, so it had been a while since I'd seen season 3 of Daredevil, the original Daredevil, and when I started Born Again, we are introduced right away to this guy, Cherry, and he seemed so connected to the characters and the storyline that I felt for a time that he was in season 3 and I just forgot.
The show 100% gaslit me into being like, oh, he's been here the whole time. Yeah, I must have just forgotten.
Yeah, but he's not in the original show. So he basically knows that Matt is Daredevil.
Yeah.
Because he sees him unmasked.
At the end of the first episode, yes.
So the show introduces us to a basically random character and gives him such not like important knowledge.
Yeah.
So the knowledge of Matt's alter ego is in the hands of this character that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, and we don't really see him that much either. He very rarely shows up. I barely remember him.
He works with Matt from time to time.
Yep.
And that's about it. His retirement party was the catalyst for Foggy's murder.
Yes.
So, yeah. So that's all we know about Cherry. I don't dislike him. I just wish he had been a little bit more developed for this show. But yeah,
I nothing him because I don't know anything about you. And then we have Team Kingpin / Wilson Fisk. Obviously, Wilson Fisk is back. I like what they're doing with his character so far. The last time I saw Kingpin in the MCU was when he was wearing a Hawaiian shirt in Hawkeye, the Hawkeye show. What was it called? I don't remember.
It was just called Hawkeye.
Was it just called Hawkeye?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Hawkeye show, and that was terrible. Hated it. Don't know what they were doing. So that was my biggest worry coming back into this, was that he was just going to be Hawaiian shirt MCU Kingpin, but he's not. I think he's back. Like Vincent D'Onofrio is obviously back in the character. He's really back in the swing of things. I think his character's great. I like his little mayor arc. I think it makes a lot of sense. Vanessa, I think she's back. She's good. She has her little like cheating thing that she did with this dude named Adam. Like I think that plot is good. The rest of the team, again, who are like the new characters, I'm not really that attached to any of them, because we got like Daniel, who's like his little like the younger intern.
Daniel Blake,
who's like hit with the kids and is like, Wilson Fisk, you're so cool. Let me help you get like the Gen Z vote. He's fine.
But we had a very interesting scene with Daniel.
We did.
In the most recent
That's
episode.
true. And I did like that. I did like that scene.
Where Kingpin, Wilson Fisk's humanity almost showed?
I don't think it's humanity, because honestly, in my mind, Kingpin's biggest thing is just loyalty. And so in that moment where he was like, I admit it, I messed up, I gave up this information, but like, I'm so sorry for it. I think in that moment he realized this wasn't him intentionally trying to undermine him, which is what is usually the case. It was, he's just dumb and like a stupid kid to some extent, but he's still loyal to me and I can use that.
Interesting.
So I don't think it's necessarily humanity. I think it's just like, I can still use, like, you're still useful to me.
See, I interpreted it a little bit differently, even though hearing you say that now, I think you are correct.
Mm-hmm.
Because all throughout the original show, we see Kingpin portrayed as this vicious murderer.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to people he cares about,
mm-hmm.
he is a different kind of person.
Yeah, he's
Vanessa.
Nicer.
He loves Vanessa. He loves his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And Wesley, who he called his friend.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I felt that we were getting maybe another sort of Wesley-like relationship between him and Daniel in this
we'll see.
New show. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but I was surprised to see him forgive Daniel and be like, I'm not going to fire you, but if you do it again, I will kill you.
Yeah, then you're done. Yeah. So Daniel is probably one of the biggest new characters on the Kingpin plotline side of things. And again, I think he's fine. I don't love him, but like I think his character makes sense. So we'll see where he goes. And then there's BB Urich, who is the niece of Ben, who's from the original series.
Right.
And she's like making these little like snippet interview things that we're seeing kind of throughout the show, which I think is interesting. I haven't really decided how I feel about those. Do you have any strong opinions about those like little intercut interviews with like real New Yorkers? I
don't know what the show is trying to tell us.
Me neither. I mean, they're clearly going for like a very like kind of political angle with it, where they're like, this is what the people think, and you have like one side who's like, Wilson Fisk sucks, then you have the other side who's like, he's just a man of the people. He just gets stuff done. I don't know. I don't really. Maybe we'll like start seeing the interviews take more of an important role. I don't know. I'm kind of tired of them a little bit at this point, but maybe they'll become more relevant. But her character also hasn't really shown up that much. She had her little meeting with Kingpin, Wilson Fisk.
Yeah, I just asked
yeah.
John this question right before we started recording, and it was, what is BB Urich's end
Role?
game?
I have no idea.
Like, is she just looking for a good scoop? Is she trying to bring down Kingpin? Is she hoping to, I don't know, bring about change in New York?
Yeah.
Is she maybe secretly out for revenge for her uncle?
Maybe.
Probably not.
I don't know.
It's possible.
We'll see. But, I mean, look, we're halfway through, so we have another half to go. But we haven't really seen that much of her. I could not tell you where they're going with her. So, all in all, I don't think they really nailed the new characters. But if they're not terrible.
They are not terrible, but I don't feel really anything.
Yeah.
Except for Hector, who...
Yes,
Yeah.
I think Hector was the best one and they killed him.
Yeah.
And the other, this isn't a new character, but I said... Like, the idea I had of, like, there's a hole in the show and we need someone to come back or we need something to fill that. And it's either be Karen or Punisher, who I'm glad they brought back. So the Punisher was in the latest episode. He was kind of teased coming back for, like, a few episodes now. And I think his presence could really help the show. Like, I think he could be that thing the show is missing. Because I think Matt is just missing, like, someone to play off of a little bit. So that scene where they're like talking about like everything that's been going on and Punisher's like again coming back at him for the fact that like he doesn't kill people, but like clearly he like sees a change in Matt where like he has killed someone or like has kind of let that go. That scene was great. Like that was one of the best scenes we've had in the show so far.
The dialogue in that scene was extraordinary.
It really brought me back to like season 2 Daredevil, like the peak like rooftop scene. I was like, okay, we're back in business. Punisher and Daredevil are still having their little like quips, their little just like arguments, just philosophical debates. So I think that was a really strong scene, and I hope we get more of that going forward. I think if the Punisher is in it more, I think that's stronger for the show, personally.
I read that initially in the first script writing phase of season 1, I don't know what else to call it because Daredevil Born Again has gone through so many revisions in pre-production.
Yes.
They wanted to bring Jon Bernthal back as the Punisher from the get-go, but he initially said no because he did not like the direction they were taking with his character, and he did not think fans would be on board with it.
Okay.
So only after they made some changes did he agree to come back.
Well, I'm glad he's back.
Yeah.
And I think those are probably good changes.
Do you think he's going to have a bigger part to play in the rest of the season?
I think so. I mean, there's that whole cop subplot where like they're essentially using his name and his symbol for like their own things, and like he obviously isn't gonna like that. And I think it's a waste to just bring him back for one episode. And I know they're trying to give him his own thing. Like I think he's getting his own like, I don't know if it's a miniseries. I think it might just be like a one-shot special.
A television special.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if they're giving him a special, I don't see them just bring him back for one episode and that's it. If they do, honestly, they kind of drop the ball because like I think he's a great addition to the show. And especially if we're going to continue this like more hardcore Daredevil where he's potentially killing people or at least like more so on the line of like about to teeter over the edge of killing people, I think we need Punisher there for that because I think he has been a really important character foil to Matt, where Matt is very pro, don't kill people, give them a second chance, whereas Punisher's like, nope, people don't change, we're just going to kill them, and that's going to take them off the street permanently, and that's how you bring about real change. So I think we need him there for that.
A little off topic, but you said you wanted to talk about this before we clicked record. We were talking about the show Invincible.
Oh,
the new
yeah.
season, and you said you wanted to draw some sort of comparison between Daredevil and Invincible.
So for those Invincible watchers out there, Daredevil and the main character of Invincible, it's interesting that these shows are coming out at the same time, but they both tackle the idea of like, should we kill people? Should we not kill people? Because they're both superheroes. And I feel like they're on very similar character arcs right now, where Daredevil's slowly finding out that maybe sometimes it's better to kill people because, in theory, quote unquote, if he had killed Bullseye, Foggy would still be alive, maybe. Similar to kind of some things that happened in the Invincible show. If you're current with the series, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'm wondering if they're gonna kind of end up in the same way, where in the latest season of Invincible, we kind of see the character go from very much anti-killing people to kind of somewhere in the middle to maybe even teetering over to the other side. I wonder if Daredevil was kind of end up in the same way, where we see him maybe not like full-on Punisher, but just like maybe a little bit closer to his side. I don't know, but I think that's a really interesting just like question to examine that I think the show is doing. So I really like that element of the show so far, at least.
I do wonder if Disney would allow their main character of this show to teeter over to that side of
Maybe.
things.
I mean, this show's been pretty edgy so far. I mean, I think we can transition into that now of like, is this like in terms of like, we've talked about the characters, how are we feeling about like the action, or I guess like the choreography of everything? Because the original Netflix show is really known for like its action and just like how gruesome and like bloody it is, and just like the excellent fight choreography. So where are you at with that?
To be honest, I feel like they're two different shows in that regard.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We
That's
had
fair.
a well choreographed fight scene between Bullseye and Daredevil in the beginning of episode 1, but it did not feel like the same.
That's fair.
The same Daredevil to me.
There was definitely more CGI in the first episode fight, which some people really don't like. I think it was fine, just because like it was pretty well integrated. I didn't really notice it too much, but I definitely did notice it where I'm like, oh, that's CGI. But yeah, I agree. It's definitely different.
I've noticed a difference in cinematography style.
Yes.
During these fight sequences. I mean, I know they tried to do the whole one-shot thing with Bullseye and Daredevil again in the beginning of episode 1.
Which is cool, because the original series is known for its one-shots.
But it just didn't feel the same to me.
Yeah. I actually think the fight in episode 2 against where like Matt is going up against the cops in the apartment, I think that one felt more like the OG series.
Absolutely, because it got a little gruesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like snaps his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us were confused about whether or not the cops were dead at the end of that fight.
Yeah, we were like,
he just like slams his neck on the ground.
Matt just kill a couple of cops?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It turns out he doesn't, but it was a great fight. It definitely felt more like the original series. So honestly, just beyond those two fights, we haven't really gotten a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still kind of a question that I think remains to be answered, is how well they capture the energy of the original series for like the action.
Well, if we're comparing this show to the original series, let's really quick talk about Charlie Cox. He hasn't missed a beat.
He hasn't missed a beat. He came back. He's right back in it. Love that guy. Love that man.
He's fantastic.
He's great.
I don't think I have much more to say about the matter than
him,
that.
Him and Vincent D'Onofrio. I think they both have really gotten back into their characters in a great way.
What's really interesting is I read this in preparation for this recording. Vincent D'Onofrio. Am I saying it right?
I believe so.
So he wore a fat suit for this season. Well, season revival. Because in the original Daredevil, he put on the weight himself to play Kingpin, but he didn't want to do that for Born Again, so he said, you know what, I'm just going to wear a fat suit. And
interesting.
I mean, that's not really important, but I thought it was an interesting little tidbit because you can kind of see it in his face that he is not as heavy.
I did notice that actually in the first couple episodes. I'm like, he's looking a little slim this time around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like, I don't really care. But I did not know that, but that is interesting to know.
Just a behind-the-scenes tidbit
a little
that I found.
behind-the-scenes tidbit. Yeah. So, I mean, what are your thoughts about that just like in general, between how well they're doing recreating the vibe of the original? Are they trying to do that? Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't feel that they are trying to recreate the vibe from the original. I think they're trying to do their own thing. This is very much uncharted waters for Disney because this is their first TVMA series. Is that correct?
I believe so.
So I think they are trying to basically create something new while not adhering to what came before, but while paying homage to what came before. But they're going to do it their own way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think you kind of get that on episode 1 where they like kill off the two main characters two of some of the main characters from the original series. Even lock up Bullseye, who I'm sure will come back. I don't know if we're going to see him in this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think they're doing a pretty good job of like staying true to like the tone of the original, because like that was one of the concerns with the original, I guess, script of the original version of Daredevil Born Again, was that it was going to be too light and like wasn't going to be true to the tone of the original series.
Correct.
But I think they're doing a good job of that. Like this feels at least similar to that, but I don't think it's like going from season 3 to this show. It's clear this is a different show, whereas like I would never watch the show assuming it was like, oh, this is just season 4. There was no time in between. This is just the exact same thing with the exact same people. Nope, this is very clearly its own thing, while still doing its best to like stay true to the original's like tone and just like pay respect to it, I guess.
The more I think about what this show could have been, the more I like what we have, because
Yes, absolutely.
originally, and you alluded to this, it was not only supposed to be more lighthearted, it was going to be very episodic.
Yeah. And Karen and Foggy weren't even going to be
Correct.
mentioned or involved at all. Like they were basically just going to, I think this show has done a good job of like having its cake and eating it too, in that it's both being its own thing while like still being a continuation of the original in a way, like still mentioning it. Whereas it seems like the original was trying to just go full cut and dry. We do not care about the original series. We're just doing our own thing. No one's back. It's just going to be completely new. Whereas this one is kind of in the middle of like being a continuation and being a new thing, maybe leading slightly to being a new thing. But I think the balance is good so far.
True, but I do have to say that, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, if you have not seen the original 3 seasons of Daredevil, I don't think I can recommend that you watch this.
Yeah, I think you'd have to do some background research first. Because again, you kind of get dropped in. You don't know who the Punisher is.
Yeah.
He just shows up. And like if you're like, for instance, if you're watching it with like people who have like seen the show, and like he walks in and there's just like John Bernthal sitting there, and you're like, oh yo, it's him,
Yeah.
and you're just gonna be sitting there like, who is that? Why is he important?
Who's that guy?
And they don't even like, I mean, which is good. Like I don't think they should like take a pause to be like, it's you, the Punisher, who I talked to 2 seasons ago on a rooftop, and we had a really important philosophical debate. We're just recapping real quick. I'm glad they didn't do that, but that means for those who haven't seen it, you're kind of going to be lost. I don't know. I think it's probably not going to be a good time for you. I mean, like I'm sure you could figure it out. Like the context is there in the background, but it definitely won't hit as much, or like not nearly as hard.
So I guess in conclusion, if you're watching this Saga session and you haven't seen Daredevil Born Again and you haven't seen the original Daredevil, go and watch the original Daredevil. That's my recommendation.
Absolutely. Like before we kind of get to wrapping up, the only other thing I want to say is that I think one thing that this show is doing, not necessarily better, but I feel like we're getting more of a focus on it this series, is that in the original show we don't get as much lawyer Matt. So I feel like this show is you're really seeing lawyer Matt a little bit more than like Daredevil Matt.
Interesting you bring that up, because again, I'm currently rewatching season 2 of the original Daredevil, and I was just thinking about this the other day. We get a lot of lawyer Foggy, but not a lot of lawyer Matt.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of lawyer Matt. So
yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed like I think my favorite episode of this show so far. I mean, I think the most recent one, episode 4, was really good for the Punisher. But I think episode 3 where he's the most lawyer. Yeah, it was episode 3.
The hollow of his hand.
Yes. I feel like that was my favorite episode because I really liked the lawyer, getting to see Matt be his lawyer self. And we get to see him be a really good lawyer, as he says in Spider-Man. Like he's defending Hector Ayala's character. We get to see that whole scene play out where his star witness comes in and basically just like bails on him. And then he has to kind of improv and be like, Hector Ayala is White Tiger. How do you feel about that? And like convince the entire jury that like Hector Ayala would never do these things because he is a superhero. I love that episode. I think getting to see lawyer Matt is a really cool thing that we haven't seen as much in the show previously. So I appreciate the show is giving us more lawyer Matt. And we'll see if we get more of that going forward. But that is one side of the character that I think this show is doing maybe a little bit better than the original.
I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like lawyer Matt. I like all the courtroom
Shout out lawyer Matt.
Scenes and episodes that we've been seeing from Born Again. So yeah.
What is your favorite episode? Mine is probably episode 3.
Agreed, episode 3.
Okay, nice.
Because I love the case. I love the court case.
It's a great case. The ending is really powerful, even though I hate it. Because you've once again taken a character from me that I really liked. So yeah, overall, I think if you want to like start wrapping up everything,
yeah,
like as a fan of the original show, I'm not ready to say that this is as good or better than the original series, but I was like, if I'm ranking the show right now, I'd probably put this close to like season 2 of the original Daredevil series, which is like probably the weakest season. Like the first half of season 2 of Daredevil's great, second half not so great. So I would say this is at least better than the second half of Daredevil season 2, if that makes sense.
Nice.
So
Okay.
like if I'm rating it, I'm giving it like a 7 out of 10 so far. Where I'm like, I'm in, like I'm definitely in. Like I'm bought into the show. I am ready to keep watching the rest of the show. I'm excited to see where it goes. I think there's a lot of avenues we could be going in. But I think there's also some flaws with like the characters not being that great and just like some of the plot's not really hitting. Like I love Daredevil's plot. And I love Matt. I love Lawyer Matt. Mayor Fisk's arc, his like plot, I don't love as much right now. And I really could care less about their whole like couples therapy sessions. I don't love those so far. So there's some highs, there's some lows. I definitely want to see more of the Punisher, but overall, I think it's a pretty solid start, and there's a lot of places we could go. And we definitely have 5 more episodes. Like this is like isn't technically the halfway mark.
Yeah, this is
Because
the unofficial
sort of halfway mark.
Because
it's going to be 9 episodes. So I am optimistic. I think this is going to go well. 7 out of 10 so far. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I was also going to go with 7 out of 10. I think, yeah, I will stick with that. You know, being a revival, you know, I think it does a good job paying homage to what came before while offering up something new. As John already stated, we have a lot of new characters, and they may not be handling them as well as they could. The characters in the original show are just better than the characters
They're just iconic.
in this
Yeah.
series so far. It's only been 4 episodes.
True.
But I expected, I gotta say, based on the current state of the MCU, I expected something far inferior to what we've gotten so far.
I mean, this is the best show they've had in a while, other than like Loki season 2, which also is really good. But yeah, I'm pleased overall.
I was cautiously optimistic, and I got something better than what I was even expecting.
Yeah, I think the stakes were high in that if you nailed this, like for me as a really big fan, I was gonna love it. Like there was a pretty big chance I was gonna love it or at least like it. But if they had messed it up, I would have been so mad. So mad.
This show is very much something that Disney, and I already alluded to this, Disney made this for the fans.
Yes.
They brought it back for the fans, and they redid the first season in terms of the script writing, production, the rewriting, because they felt that, the fans aren't going to like this.
Yeah. And as a fan, I'm in. As long as you can get past the fact that they killed Foggy and Karen currently isn't here, if you can get over that first hump, which to the people out there who can't get over that hump, more power to you. I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise, but I think if you can get past that, I think you're going to like what the show has to offer. At least I do.
With that, I am looking forward to the second half of
Half plus one.
Right, of this first season of Daredevil Born Again. John and I will be back to wrap up the series when episode 9 drops, so stay tuned for that. But the unofficial halfway point of season 1, John gives it a 7. I give it a 7. I am pleased with what we have, and I look forward to more.
Same here. Hopefully we come back and it's 10 out of 10.
I hope so.
We can hope.
With that, thank you for attending this Saga session. We hope to see you again soon.